Welcome to our new free virtual tour, Magical Transylvania. It's so good to see you, everyone. We haven't seen each other since last March. Hi, Woody. How are you? So we will be waiting a few more minutes because I see people still coming in, joining our tour. In the meantime, I will start a poll. Today we are talking about Transylvania, but not the kind of Transylvania that you know from Bram Stoker or from Dracula or from vampire myths. We are only going to talk about the way we see Transylvania, like the magical place that it is. So I will launch the poll that we can do while we wait for other people to attend the tour. So I am interested to know, how did you hear about Transylvania? You have several options. All right. Well, I have to say the results do not necessarily surprise me. So more than 40% of you have said through Dracula, or have friends that are from Romania, or have been here. So if you've been to Transylvania, I'd be happy to know what did you do, what did you visit? Please let us know in chat. So today, I will be starting the tour, but Vlad will join the second half of the tour. And in the meantime, he will be the one answering to all of your questions in the chat. So I think we are ready to start the tour. Please let me know if you can hear the music properly. First of all, if it's too loud. If it is too loud, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. It's more ambiental music, nothing crazy, no lyrics this time. We listened to your feedback. My name is Georgiana. I am a tour guide and co-founder of Romanian Thrills, which is a boutique travel agency located in Romania. And we have started doing these free virtual tours to bring Romania into your homes, to make you curious about it, and to keep it in mind for when you are ready to plan traveling again. We've started last October, and we have done a free virtual tour every month ever since. So as I've said, these tours are free. Of course, if you want to participate or support our work with a donation, you can do so at the end. And we're always happy to see you. We have created quite a nice community of people that keep on watching us from month to month, and we could not be more happy about it. It makes us so grateful and humble to see you all coming on each tour. So we really hope to get to see you someday in person in Romania. So everyone comes in muted. You are welcome to share your video if you would like. And at the end, we have a Q&A session. So you can interact with us. You can ask whatever you want to know about Transylvania or anything about Romania. So our poll has finished. Obviously, most of you have heard of Transylvania through Dracula. But I'm really happy to see that a lot of you have also been to Transylvania. None of you know Transylvania through Prince Charles. Well, that's actually good, because that means we're going to give you some new information today. And randomly through research, it's also really interesting to us, because we're always curious to know how people come to know about Romania. And we know it's not on the international travel list. So we're happy to discover how you came to attend this meeting today. So we are talking about magical Transylvania. As you see from the title, it's a charming countryside and amazing wildlife. So we are not going to talk about any vampire myths today. Because we're so excited, it's something that we have never done before. At the end of the tour, we will be enjoying live music. So if you want to show us your dance skills, this is your opportunity. We have partnered with a Romanian singer, and she will bring you a few traditional songs from Transylvania. And also you can see her dressed in a traditional costume. So that's going to be at the end. We will try to keep this tour at an hour. Then we'll have our Q&A session, and she will be singing at the end, just so you know how the tour is structured. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Transylvania, a small introduction. Then we are going to talk about a road called Via Transylvanica. Vlad is whispering that I need to turn down the music a little bit. So what I'm going to do. Let me know if it's better now. All right, so after the introduction, we're going to talk about a road called Via Transylvanica. Then we're going into several regions of Transylvania. As Transylvania, it's a very diverse land. We'll talk about this later. So we're going to start with secular land, continue with the Saxon Land, Moorish Valley, and then we're going to finish with Dacian land. The structure is surrounded around that Via Transylvanica road, about which we will talk a little bit later. So first of all, for those of you that have watched our tours for quite some time, you already know this. We always like to start with a map of Europe just to place Romania on the map. So it's located in Central Eastern Europe, bordered by the Black Sea to the east, Hungary to the west, Ukraine in the north, and Bulgaria to the south. And historically, Romania has been divided into 3 regions. So we only know Romania by this name for the past 100 years. It wasn't known as Romania. There were 3 Romanian populated regions, and those were Moldavia to the east, Wallachia to the south, which was actually the region that 𝗵𝘆𝗻𝗍𝗀 ruled, so now Transylvania. And then we have Transylvania to the west, which is the region that we're going to talk about today. Obviously, throughout history, the land has been divided a little bit more. So today, Romania is actually divided into more regions. So Transylvania is here at the center of the country, and Transylvania itself is divided into other regions. And this region, it's now crossed by Via Transylvanica. This is Latin for Transylvanian Road, and we call it our very own El Camino de Santiago of Romania. So this is how the tour today will be structured. We will we'll follow this road through Transylvania, and we'll let you know what highlights you can see along the way. So as you can see, this road actually starts in the north of Romania in the region known as Bucovina, and goes all the way down to 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, which is actually the Iron Gates Dam by the Danube, where the Danube enters the country. The Danube River, if you don't know, it's actually our southern border. And Via Transylvanica, it's called in Romanian, drumul care unește. That means the road that unites. Well, the people that have founded it called it this way because it actually links culturally different regions of Romania and aims to unite them, aims to make it known not only to foreigners or to people that visit our country, but to Romanians alike, and wants to unite everyone and have them, go and get to know their own country. The route is supposed to be 1,400 kilometers long. It's not finished yet. Right now, they've only have 700 kilometers done, and there will be 6 main parts. Today, we're going to go only through 4 of them, only through those that go through Transylvania. So the first 2 parts actually go through Bucovina. Then we're going to follow these 4 areas here to Transylvania, and the last one goes through 𝘁. So the road is marked by milestones. So each milestone has been sculpted in hand. It features a different image, and they are spread out from kilometer to kilometer. If you want it in miles, a kilometer is like 0.62 miles. So it has been such an amazing project. It was started by a nonprofit organization called 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗀 social. The founders were inspired by other walking trails around the world. And I'm sure you've heard, as I've said, of El Camino de Santiago, the pilgrimage road in Spain. But there are also others, both in the United States or in India. So they said, okay, I think this is the perfect opportunity to have a road built in Romania. The history is there, the culture is there, the diversity is there. We just need to get to work. So they have started a few years back, try to get funding for these milestones. and of course, private sponsors to help continue the road. We are very excited about this project. This is why we're doing this tour right now as well, surrounding it, because we believe it's such an amazing opportunity to discover Transylvania in its most authentic way. You can walk, you can go with your bicycle, you can even incorporate it in a tour if you'd like. No matter how you decide, this road makes sure that you have the necessary information. They will also provide on their website a guide, which is completely free. It has more than 200 pages of information about this road and the places that you see and you go through. And they also, give you practical information, like where to get help if you need it, or where to get food, what locals are more than happy to house you, and so on. For example, we are thinking of doing a physical tour starting 2022 around this road. But of course, we will include the accommodation that we normally go through in all of our other tours. If you want to go for a challenge, of course, we can also design a challenge. But to actually walk the whole Via Transylvanica, it can take more than a few weeks. I would probably suggest to do it like a combination, if you can, like bikes, walking, maybe take a car and go from place to place, just to make sure you visit it all, to visit all the regions. So our tour today aims to highlight the main attractions found along this road and to inform you of the lesser known parts of Romania. We will start today with 𝗁𝗲𝗃 Land. In 𝗁𝗲𝗃 Land, we will talk about the brown bear observatories and another valley that we particularly like, and it's called Zalan Valley. We'll see why that is important in just a little bit. First of all, let's talk about who the 𝗁𝗲𝗃s were. So the name 𝗁𝗃𝗃 is derived from the Hungarian expression, which means frontier guards. Today, 𝗁𝗃𝗃 Land is located almost in the center of Romania. The main counties are 𝗁𝗃𝗃, Covasna, and Moorish, but you have to think of it historically. So I told you that their name means frontier guards because they were brought here by the Hungarian Empire more than 800 years ago to guard their borders. So Transylvania has historically been part of the Hungarian Empire, and this is the Carpathian chain. So the kings needed help against Mongol attacks or any sorts of enemy attacks. So they brought their own population in this wild wilderness, in this mysterious land, to help them protect the borders. So back in the Middle Ages, there were two groups of 𝗁𝗃𝗃s. Actually, there was the Western ones and the Eastern ones. In the 14th century, the lesser populated Western regions, they just melted into the Hungarian nation. So that's why we don't have a significant population in Romania today. But the ones to the east, they kept on fighting. They have claimed autonomy several times in the past. They want to become a nation within Transylvania. And today, if you go into the villages in these counties, you'll feel like you're in another country. You will often see their flag posted in front of their houses. It's a light blue color with the sun star and the crescent moon. They're both ancient 𝗁𝗃 symbols. And it's just a different feeling. So first of all, you start seeing all of the road signs, both in Romanian and in Hungarian. They speak Hungarian, but it's actually a dialect. And as I've told you, they identify themselves as an autonomous nation. So they do not necessarily want to move to Hungary or to be considered part of Hungary as a country. Wanted to display a few traditional costumes because I know last time on our last tour, you really appreciated the traditional costumes. And of course, every region of Romania is unique through their folkloric costumes. The traditional material that they use is normally sheep's wool, hemp, or linen. Every part of this costume is hand sewn, it's handwork. And until 1940, they also represented its owner's marital status or religion as well. So for example, young girls usually wore clothes with a white apron, and grown-up women usually wore a black apron. In this particular case, all of them obviously they're young girls and normally unmarried. Another thing that we like about the 𝗃𝗍𝗃 is that they have kept their traditions alive. And a place that we normally visit in our tours around the area is a miller. This is a traditional 𝗃𝗍𝗃 house. You might recognize this boy here. And we like to engage into a bread making workshop or 𝗃𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀 making workshop. So if you want, you can grind your own wheat and use the flour to make your own bread. You're gonna get dirty. There's a big oven behind you, so you're gonna actually bake the bread and then beat it. The 𝗃𝗍𝗃s are known for their potato bread because there's a lot of potato produced in these areas. The climate is perfect. I think 90% of potato production in Romania is done in these regions. And if you've never tried potato bread before, if you ever make it to Romania, we'll make sure to make one together and to let you know how it tastes. These are traditional Saxon houses, and this in particular is called Micloșara Mansion. Now, Covasna, one of the three counties inhabited by the 𝗃𝗍𝗃s, is also known as the land of the mansions. So if you go there, you have the opportunity to sleep in a restored mansion. And there are, I would say, hundreds of them that are still in good conditions, and hundreds more that are still waiting a nice owner to take care of them. Another reason for which the 𝗃𝗍𝗃s were brought here was because they were known for their abilities to paint beautiful furniture. So the noblemen, they did not find skillful craftsmen within the Romanian population, unfortunately, because the Romanians have a history of always being tormented, of always trying to be conquered. And we have to admit, we didn't really have a lot of time to dedicate to arts and crafts. So whenever a nobleman had a beautiful mansion to decorate and to turn into an art piece, he had to find help into other nations, more developed nations. So this is why some of them have moved here. And there's actually a workshop that you can attend to paint your own piece of furniture. And of course, cuisine. They have amazing cuisine. These are 𝗃𝗍𝗃𝗍𝗃, which is pretty much a chimney cake. It's inspired by the Hungarian cuisine. It's made on a wooden spit. This in particular is glazed, I think, with sugar and walnut, but of course you can use whatever combination or whatever topping you can think of. And this in particular has been done at the same mill that I showed you before, where we make the bread. And of course, they are known for their pork cracklings. And if you ask Vlad, we have had the best pork cracklings there. Last Christmas, we spent Christmas there, and we were amazed because, it's not something new to us. We've had them since we were kids, but he could not stop eating. So if you wanna see some photos of Vlad, I can show you afterwards. All right, so that was the 𝗃𝗍𝗃 land, and in the Via Transylvanica road, it's the one that's right here. So it's the third part. It goes by the border of the two 𝗃𝗍𝗃 counties that I talked to you about. And this is a zoom in of the road. So 𝗃𝗏𝗃, for example, Sfântu Gheorghe, they are all 𝗃𝗍𝗃 cities. And just to give you an idea of the kind of regions that the road goes through, so it's really only through villages, from time to time, you will cross a town as well. So for example, 𝗨𝗡𝗃𝗃𝗃 is considered the unofficial capital of the secular land in Romania. But for the most part, you are crossing villages, you are crossing pastures, forests. And here in the secular land, there's a real opportunity for you to come face to face with a brown bear. Just to give you an idea, so this would be the landscape that you would be crossing on this road. And I wanted to share with you this video. It was shot by the people from 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗃, the ones that are building Via Transylvanica in the secular land, just to give you a preview of what you can expect and how the road looks like and what type of wildlife you can encounter. Something that I really enjoy here in particular is that they have lots and lots of stork nests in their villages, and you know the light poles are not very spread out, so they're very close to each other. So when you enter a village, you get to see like at least 10-15 different nests, all full of storks. The Țeclari are also known for their churches, same like the Saxons, for their fortifications, as their initial purpose to be brought here on these lands were to help defend the Hungarian Empire. So everything they built was built as a fortification, as they had to. And they are also known for their wooden gates. Similar to Maramureș in a way, they are also great craftsmen of wood. But they're not as ornate. But every village has its own huge wooden gate when you enter it. And as I told you, you are most likely to get face to face with a brown bear in these lands because they have a very large brown bear population. They have decided to take advantage of this fact, and they have built a lot of brown bear observatories. So this is how an observatory looks like. So it's tucked inside the forest. As you can see, it has reflective windows. So you can see the bear, but he cannot see you. And of course, in front of the observatory, typically they will have feeders installed. Now the feeders are all automatic. So from time to time, they will release a small amount of food and the bears will come and eat it. That's how they ensure that whenever you go there, you are guaranteed to see a brown bear. However, this process is actually one that we prefer because it doesn't hurt the brown bears and there's no human interaction needed. The people arrive in a 4x4 at the back of the observatory. So you get in, like they do not see you at all. And they normally take place in the evening at 6:30 p.m. It's what we prefer, right? So we've been used to zoos all our lives where the animals were in a cage and you are outside roaming free. Well, this time the roles have been inverted. The animals are roaming around freely and you get to observe them from the safety of the observatory. And it's a great wildlife opportunity because it's not just the bears that you get to see. You can also see deers. You can also see different types of birds, wild boars. The brown bears are not aggressive. So please let us know in the chat if you have brown bears in your area. If you're from the United States, I know you have grizzlies or black bears. I think the brown bears are obviously much smaller than the grizzlies. I think they're even smaller than the black bears. They are not aggressive by nature, but they will protect their cubs. So that's why I decided to share this photo of a mother with her 2 cubs. If you find a mama bear, of course, she will be more protective than a regular, like if you find a lone male, so to say. They will like to stay away, so they do not engage into an aggressive attack. They are not necessarily curious towards humans. So if you see one, the advice is to just make some noise. If he doesn't go away, just leave your backpack. We have had several encounters with them, either from our car or one time we were trying to go towards a lake, which is close to this observatory. And the lake, which is normally populated by people at that time, was completely empty. And then we saw people gathered together and they said, well, there's actually a mama bear swimming in the lake and her 4 cubs were all playing hide and seek in the forest nearby. There's always forest rangers. So the rangers will know where the brown bears are more likely to make an appearance, and they will be around. In Romania, it's not allowed to, if you see a brown bear, to shoot it. So even the rangers, they will only have a pepper spray available. And as I said, in these regions, they know about the bears, they know when they're more likely to appear, and the bears themselves are more used to human appearances. So if you make noise, they'll just go away. You see the name panda here. That's because the people at the observatory have started giving names to the bears that they see constantly coming there. So this one in particular is called panda. And there's another one called 𝗵𝘆𝗽𝗍, which in Romanian means breeze. He's the one that always sends up. We've recently shared a post on our social media. We've also have a photo of him. So they're very cute if you look at them. They're the kind of cute that you want to stay away from because that paw is quite big. Another really exciting thing about these observatories is that they also have their own YouTube channel and their very own live cam. So you get to watch a live cam of bear watching in Transylvania. We will also share the link for you to see at the end of the tour. Vlad can share it as well right now in the chat. But you know, it's there for you to watch it whenever you want. So this is the kind of footage that you can expect from watching a live cam. So on the live cam, it's not just bears, obviously. You'll see deers, as I've said, wild boars. You can hear the birds chirping. You cannot really observe birds. You'll see them flying, but the nicest thing is that you can hear them sing. So if you're a keen bird watcher, if you like to test your knowledge and identify birds only by their sounds, this is your chance. So if you look at this footage, of course, the bears look so cute, right? And they have this this behavior, this personality that, you know, just wants to, like makes you want to snuggle with them. Obviously, it's not all pink. There have been bear attacks in Romania, but normally it's because the people have gone too far into the forest. Like the attacks will only happen in the most remote areas, and most of the times it's because of the negligence of the humans. You also saw a fox. Sometimes wolves appear. Sometimes there's a squirrel. Sometimes all at once. So it's not uncommon to see a bear coming to feed at the same time with a deer, at the same time with a boar. I have seen on the live cam that that they prefer feeding at night. Actually, they don't necessarily feed only at night. They feed whenever they feel like it. So yeah, do try to watch it live. Of course, if you watch it live, you have to dedicate quite a bit of time. But today we were really lucky. We saw several bears in just an hour time. This is another video with a population of stags and deers. These are the people that take care of the observatories. Obviously, they only have 4x4s to get there. The locations are deep within the forest. And you also, through this video, get to see the feeders and how little interaction there is. Because of the diversity of the wildlife, the people located here in these regions, in the Zalan Land, have done their best to incorporate activities of wildlife watching, but have done so in a very conscious and sustainable way. So they do not try to interfere in their life. They will always bring food whenever they're not around, whenever the animals are not around, and that doesn't happen every other day. So it's at longer period of times. in a way, the experience is ensured to be great, both for people like me, people like you that like to observe wildlife, but want to be, conscious about it. And for the wildlife themselves, because, for example, in harsh winters, when the temperatures are really low, the food is scarce, the feeders help sustain the population healthy. And it's not, as I said, it's not just the brown bears or the deers, it's also the smaller mammals that take advantage of it. You can see the background, the feeder, the type of feeder with automatic disposal that I talked to you about. And in case if you're wondering about hunting, the Worldwide Fund have done a great job in protecting the brown bear in Romania. It's illegal to hunt brown bears right now. So if you find yourself in a life-threatening situation, we do not carry guns with us. So if you find yourself in a life-threatening situation, you wouldn't have much to do other than, try to feed the bear or make some noise to get away. But if you have a brown bear crossing your private property, so to say, you're not allowed to shoot it. You have to call the authorities and they will take care of it. There is, however, some trophy hunting allowed. They call it the kind that brings in funds. And to help control the population. It's not a lot of it's not a lot of animals per year, but we are obviously against any hunting practices because I don't know, they just perpetuate a feeling of, for us there's no satisfaction in knowing that you've killed a bear, that like an animal that really doesn't have any gun in his hand. So if you were to hunt an animal with your bare hands, then yeah, that would be worth mentioning. So after the brown bear observatories found here in Zalan Land, that you can always add them to your tour if you decide to go on Via Transylvanica. Oh, and by the way, if you go through Via Transylvanica by foot, they also have signs everywhere saying that the brown bears are a common sighting and you need to be careful, or you need to be very well prepared for an encounter like this. As I said, always carry pepper spray, maybe carry an extra backpack that you can leave behind. Always carry only dry food, so because they are drawn by the smell of food, and so on. Another important part of this land is called Zalan Valley, and this is where Prince Charles come in. So Prince Charles has fallen in love with Transylvania, and he has actually bought land here because he believes that the Transylvanian countryside charm is how medieval Britain used to look like, and he just regards it as a timeless region. In particular, this is the guest house. It's called Zalan Valley, Prince Charles's guest house. It's a restored mansion from the 19th century. It's an eco-retreat. It aims to keep Romanian traditions alive. He has hired a local manager. His name is 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃. So he is of Zalan descent, obviously. And he aimed to keep it completely traditional. So he has not done any modification. It's all about preserving. There's no TV, there's no internet. At night, the lights are all turned off. So it's just amazing to stare at the night sky and just be able to observe all the stars because there's absolutely no light pollution around. And of course, in this place, the horse and cart is still the main form of transport in these isolated villages. We have talked a bit about this in one of our recent newsletters. People in Romania today will still ride a carriage in the village and as their normal way of life. So it's not that common to own a car, but it's much more common to own a horse cart because, as you can see, you can take it everywhere that a car maybe you wouldn't be able to take. And sometimes you see, for the most part, the horses are really well taken care of, and they also have pompons attached to their ears as a way to protect them against evil spirits. You do know that Romanians are more superstitious. We have talked about that in other tours. So this is where the secular land, the Via Transylvanica part finishes. The next one is the Saxon land, and this is where I leave Vlad. He's going to replace me, and then you'll talk to me in the chat. So see you soon.
Hello, hello. Nice to see everyone. I was just behind the keyboard, keeping you all engaged, and glad to have everyone with us today. So moving forward, I want to share the rest of the Transylvanica with you. And without further ado, we're going to go into Saxon land, which is a lot more popular than secular land. And as Georgiana said, Prince Charles of Great Britain made it its home with summer residence in some of these areas. So what I want to do today is to skip some of these more commercial or touristic places and find some of these hidden gems that you're probably more interested in. So we'll go through some UNESCO heritage villages in this region. We'll stop by one of our favorite tea houses from Transylvania, and then we'll learn how to make haystacks from a distance. If you really want to get the workout, you do need to come to Romania for a demonstration. So the next part will take us through the heart of Transylvania, and we will continue right in the center of the country, nearby the medieval city of 𝘁𝗍𝗍. A lot of people have heard about this so far. So we will not talk about that. We talked plenty of, we gave plenty of information on that, but we want to show other small places around 𝘁𝗍𝗍 that maybe some of you didn't hear of so far. So I will like to play a little video over here, and do let me know if there's any sound coming out of it. Okay, so this is just a quick one that starts with 𝘁𝗍𝗍 indeed, in times when the streets were not as busy. If you want to see these towns, it's actually better to wake up really early before the mist, even in the summer, because it's like in a mountain depression, and just witness the rural life, to witness the slow pace of the villagers, to go for a hike, to explore the medieval areas and the fortified churches. There's a lot of fortified churches in these areas that we have some of them included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. And we will talk a little bit about some of our favorite ones. This road, Via Transylvanica, does pass through most of them. And it's just beautiful to see the difference, even if it's like 50 miles, 100 miles between each other. You'll see differences that the local communities have done over there. And these, all these fortified churches, they started as a refuge, were built by the Transylvanian Saxons. We did discuss about them in our previous tours. They were German builders and settlers that the Hungarian kingdom gave lands to in these regions, the outwards regions of Transylvania, to protect against Eastern invasions. So because when the Tatar invasions and the Turks, the Ottomans, were coming in to raid these villages, they didn't have necessarily a castle or something else to protect themselves. They used the churches, the buildings that they already started with in the village, as a place of refuge. So we'll go through them, we'll see how they used them, what was their importance, and why they chose the church as a place of refuge. This is just a small map that shows you the region and in Transylvania, and we have Viscri right here that is very popular since Prince Charles does have a house over there as well, and it became more and more popular, not only for international tourists, but for Romanians as well, especially in the pandemic. We have 𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗧 that we've seen, 𝗧𝗏𝗃𝗍, Beerton, and a few other ones that will pass later in the tour. So I will start with Viscri Church. There's a picture from one of our previous tours, pre-pandemic, and we did discuss about it plenty of times. Viscri comes from the white church, as you can see, from whitewashed walls. This was the most important. Usually the fortified churches were the most important building in a village, even before they started being fortified. So if you look at the picture on the right, this is taken from the church tower. So what you see around are just belts of walls surrounding that church that villagers built gradually, step by step. After every incursion, they build them stronger and better in order to keep the invasions away. But moving into the life of the village, we will see really beautiful Transylvanian and Saxon traditional architecture, restored houses, beautiful barns where you can serve dinner. These are some places where we stay during our tours as well, and it really gets you one of these authentic feelings once you get over there. Now, one of the things that happens when one of these villages is getting too popular is over-tourism. And yes, it's a little bit weird to hear that Romania has over-tourism. It doesn't really happen often, but an example was last year during the pandemic, when a lot of people were landlocked in Romania, and they heard all these news and stories about Viscri. This is how Viscri looked before, just a few years ago. And now everybody wanted to see what it's all about. So imagine flocks and flocks of people just coming in, cars, dust everywhere. The cows don't have enough space to move around. It just loses that bucolic, charming lifestyle that we're used to. So we always try to balance this and to time properly a tour to Viscri, but we'll go and see other villages through this tour, at least as interesting and traditional as Viscri. In the village, you can go do a workshop with the local blacksmith and get a souvenir from him and learn the traditional ways of doing that. You can see the cows, the geese, and all the other animals coming back when it's their time to come back to their own home. So every cow knows exactly where to go back. It's just something that you need to feel probably when coming over here. Next is also Beerton Church. It's also enlisted in the UNESCO heritage list. It's a church that we've talked about many, many times. It's just a very charming village with, in my opinion, one of the most imposing churches, and it was one that was most difficult to attack and to conquer. Another one that I want to go through is Prejudice. Prejudice Church is a little bit more different than the others because it was started by the Teutonic Knights. You can see from this picture that it has a cross shape with a long tower and very, very thick walls. These walls were some of the thickest that these fortified churches had. Imagine all around this church, there was actually a moat, and just to the left over here, there was a drawbridge. It was really, really difficult for anyone to attack. The reason why it was so strongly fortified was that it was near Brașov, and this was a city that was the first in line of the Eastern incursions. So it was the first one that would fall in case of an attack. The reason why these walls are so thick is because villagers would actually retreat in there for sometimes weeks, sometimes months. It happened to be even years. So they actually built houses on the other side of the wall. To the left side here, you can see everyone's apartments. They would have like a condominium residential building in there. Each family would have their own door. And to the right side, you could see, because it would take so long to withstand the siege and to defend themselves over there, they also had a church. So school and education was very important, even in medieval times for them. So they wouldn't want their kids to miss school. Another one that I really like is the 𝗁𝗁 Church. It was recently renovated, as you can see from this picture. The roof was done and the walls were done again. Just beautiful to go through it. Also in the UNESCO Heritage List. And one of my personal favorites is 𝗲𝗏𝗍𝗀, which is like the translation would be vineyard of valley, because in these regions of Transylvania, there's actually some really good white wine. The reds are really good in another area that we talked about in Romania, but this is known for the white wine, and it has a very unique architecture, very different than everything else. The last one from the smaller fortified churches is Kolnik Church. And what is interesting that next to it is another church that is not on the UNESCO Heritage List, but the locals decided to turn this church into accommodation. So nowadays, if you'd like to visit a church and spend the night over, you can. There are beds, comfortable beds with private bathroom, with tables and chairs and everything you might need. And you can sleep in a medieval fortified church from the 15th century, right in the village. You even have a fridge, so all the modern comforts that the villagers started looking at opportunities on how to incorporate tourism in the area while still keeping their heritage alive, which we really like and we encourage. Now, the highlight of these fortified churches for today's tour would be 𝗧𝗃𝗃, which is on the way from Brașov to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, a very, very big and long tower that was redesigned. If you look at it, very different than any other fortified church you've seen so far, because the number says 1832 just over there. 1832 was the year in which the Austrians repaired the roof with this Austrian twist to it, very similar to what you can see in 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 as well. And it's just beautiful to walk around. There's a lot of NGOs in this area, and we really like this place, 𝗧𝗃𝗃, because it has a different type of agricultural tourism. Everything is farm to table, yet with all the modern comforts that you might need. All the buildings were renovated, accommodations, even solar panels to be more environmental friendly. The logistical chain is very, very tight. You pick up your onions, pick up your apples from the orchard and so on. The wine is being done right in the barrel over there. There's a kitty cat on top of it. So I wouldn't say wildlife, but well, domestic animal life is present. The accommodations are very comfy. If a cat can sleep in there, I think everyone can. And then they still use these traditional stoves to kind of cook on them. You can do a barbecue on it, just admiring and just waiting for animals to go out, to come back from their homes. Roasted pumpkin, one of my favorite recipes in the area, honey glazed if possible as well. Traditional cheese as well, they do in the area. And you can see it's not one of those ones that you find in the supermarket. You just really get a nice whole experience once you visit this area. They did adapt also the horse carriages to be a little bit more comfortable for the rides in there. And if you feel a little bit more active, you can also try your luck with haystacking or cutting the grass around. So now, speaking of haystacks, they are found throughout Romania, and it's still, contrary to popular belief, a very important part of everyday life in villages. It's very important to use a proper technique when you're doing haystacking, when you're involved in this activity. So a lot of people think it's easy. It's really not. The newly cut grass, first of all, it needs to be left to dry. And this is one of the most important aspects of completing a successful haystacks. So I will give you a few tips, insider tips on how to make a haystack. You really want to avoid any moisture in there, because otherwise it will rot inside. And otherwise the hay will ferment and it will spoil the whole haystack. So It's weird. Sometimes the haystack can also catch fire, even if it's damp. So it's a little bit ironic that you want to dry it out, but it might catch fire from getting too much moisture in there. Now, this is how you start when you're preparing your haystack. It's like a pyramid. It's not really a pyramid. It's like three corner shaped pyramid with long shafts. And then this will support the hay. Sometimes you can see it from outside. If they don't have enough hay, you will see them all around when you're driving in the countryside of Romania. Sometimes it will be fully covered, like in the pictures that you've seen before, or like in this one. Now, after the hay is dry, the farmer must not simply start stacking it, because in order to avoid rotting, it needs to be placed on a layer of branches. And this layer will allow the air circulation at the bottom of the stack, just enough to stop the hay from decaying while also drying out the hay. Now the piling can begin, and traditionally the farmer will pass the hay up to his wife because she's lighter, and if she would go up on top, wouldn't trample the hay too much. Now this also depends on age, fitness, and so on. But their construction can take the best part of a day. It's really long and time consuming. It's usually done in two parts with a small picnic in the midday. And there are still a few other things that you need to do before the haystack is complete. It needs to be combed with rakes before the person on top can descend from quite a long height that they created. And in this way, when it rains, the water will run down the haystack in kind of these man-made funnels instead of soaking it in. And if this is done properly, there's no need for any kind of covering. As long as the haystack is formed correctly, then the outer layer will become a kind of a waterproof shell. Here you go. You'll be good to go. It's really, really important to get this right because in the past, without the extra food supply to keep them fed through the cold Romanian winter, the animals, the farm animals would have perished. So if the haystacks would be compromised, then it would be really disastrous for the villagers. Now, the villagers take great pride in making these. So it's something that they pride themselves with. Oh, I know how to do it and I'm better at you, and so I can do it faster, so on. And there's a great amount of care that they put into doing this because they used to depend on this very activity to go through the winter. And in some of the remote areas, they still do. Moving from the Saxon area of Romania, we go a little bit west from there, southwest, in an area called Moorish Valley. This is also known for the great wineries around. But today I want to share with you the largest citadel of Romania that nobody talks about, or at least it's something not as popular in international tourism, because even though it dates all the way back to the Dacians, our ancestors, so more than 2,000 years ago, when the Romans came in, it was redone more recently, a few hundred years ago. So we'll go from Sighișoara to west towards a city called 𝗨𝗨𝗪𝗀. 𝗨𝗨𝗪𝗀, meaning the white area. Julia from Julius, which was Julius Caesar, the great Roman emperor. Now, the citadel that we can find here is quite huge and takes most of the city center. It's a lesser known attraction, as I was saying, and the current form, the current shape was built between 1715 and 1738, so mid-1700s, in the part of Transylvania that was then part of the Austrian Empire. And what makes it unique is that the citadel was constructed around 3 sets of fortifications. As I mentioned, initially it was the Roman castrum, the area where the Roman legions were encamped during a war. The second part is the medieval fortress that was used in around 15th century. And later on, it is the Carolina citadel, Alba Carolina citadel, is a more modern fortification prone for artillery fights and other defensive methods, more advanced ones. And this was named after Charles VI. Why is it called Carolina then? Charles was called Carol in Romania. So he was Holy Roman Emperor at the time of the citadel's construction. And it was named after, in his honor. The very beginning, the history of the citadel was when it was dating the Roman province, the Roman times. It was a Roman province of Dacia, or the territory of Romania before it was known as Romania. And it dates from 2nd to 4th century when the Roman legions retreated. It's the largest castrum located in Romania. It was built by a legionary fortress of Gemina. It was called Gemina 13. It was started by Julius Caesar, a very, very fierce legion of the Roman troops. And under Emperor Trajan, who conquered Dacia in around 100, 105, 106 AD, it was later transferred to the newly conquered province of Dacia. Today, we even have a museum that encompasses that with a lot of Roman artifacts. And to the left, you might see the entrance. We have a guide that I'll tell you a little bit later that we love to use when we do a stroll into the citadel. Now, fast forward 1,000 years, and in the same place, the 𝗵𝗆 dynasty of the Principality of Hungary had consolidated and adapted the fortress to their needs. Then Alba Iulia became the residence of Transylvanian Principality and a major defensive location against surrounding enemies, specifically the Ottoman Empire. It was called Medieval Fortress of Belgrade, and if it sounds similar to Belgrade in Serbia, it is because Belgrade actually means white fortress in Slavic. They also have a really beautiful restaurant down below, a part of the former medieval fortress that I want to point out. It makes for a really nice lunch right after a tour of the citadel. And one of our favorite dishes, if you are up for it, is the bone marrow. It's very heavy, but it's very also medieval. It goes really well with some of the red wines or rosé wines from the region. Now, the shape of the citadel that everybody knows today and is admired, especially from the drone, with drone footage, was built at the end of 17th century when the citadel was incorporated into the Habsburg Empire and the Austrian army moved inside its walls. Its strategic location was used again to defend against the military efforts of the Ottomans. And the shape of the citadel, that's an iconic element of Vauban architecture, is like a heptagram, a 7-point star with 7 bastions and 6 ravelins, all delimited by deep moats that are now actually bike lanes. So it's really nice to go around. They are each attributed to local heroes. And today you can still see reenactments. You can see Austrian guards marching around, the drawbridge into effect with the original chains, and all the things that made it work 300 years ago. They fired a cannon every week, and it's just beautiful to walk around. The people of this city are very proud of it, and even if it is in the middle of the city, it really has a special charm. Not a lot of people talk about the citadel. Has a lot of history. Now, moving forward and talking about history, it's a very iconic place and very important place in the history of Romania itself, because in 1918, the union between the 3 principalities of Romania that Georgiana was talking in the beginning, Transylvania, Wallachia, and Moldova, happened right here in Alba Iulia, because it was right in the heart of the newly formed country of Romania, and it was a large majority of Romanians that wanted to unite with the rest of Romania. So it has a very, very important symbolic. Nowadays, in the citadel, there are many interesting historical reenactments, which range from daily march of Austrian officers and cannon shooting, as I said, even to seasonal Roman festivals. And this is where I wanted to tell you, we work with guides in the citadel that are actually acting as centurions during these reenactments. And are they know a lot. They are guides inside the Citadel's museum as well, and they can go into really many details. I'm a history fanatic, so I can talk a lot about this, but they know a lot more than me. They're local guides. They work with universities, Cambridge and all other important universities around the globe to keep this heritage alive. Now, next to 𝗨𝗏𝗪𝗀 is a town that I wanted to talk a little bit about, because even though it's not necessarily on the touristic map, it has a specific meaning. So what I have in the picture is the Greek Catholic Church in 𝗏𝗏. And 𝗏𝗏 is the name of a town in Transylvania, very close to 𝗨𝗏𝗪𝗀. And 𝗏𝗏 is also the last name of Vlad Blaž, who is me and the guide to Romanian thrills. And you might wonder if there's a relation to my name in this town. And no, I did not buy a town in the middle of Romania. Rather, the people, the hometown, my hometown, actually was inhabited with a lot of people coming from this town more than 100 years ago. In 1848, there was a proclamation in the town of 𝗏𝗏 with the majority, overwhelming majority of Romanians asking for their rights. Remember, this region was part of the Habsburg Empire during those times, so not a lot of rights, and they were treated as a minority, even though they were the bulk of the people in the region. So they came up, asked for their rights, and they kind of came up to a compromise with the Habsburg Empire in the way that if they would drop their Orthodox beliefs and they would convert to Catholic religion, they would be granted the rights. Of course, people are very religious, even nowadays, imagine 100, 200 years ago. So they actually started something called Greek Catholic religion, which is found only in these areas, and traces the roots back from Byzantine Orthodox religion that we have with the Roman Catholic religion that the empire had. So it's also called the Orthodox religion in communion, in union with Rome. So they kind of gave some rights away. They kind of kept some of their traditions, but this was a way for them to have more rights in a region in which they were the most numerous. And on this map, you can clearly see the density of this religion. In 1930s, a lot of people in these parts of Western Transylvania. And if we look nowadays, we'll see that it kind of spread out all around the country. And I am from a region to the southeast of Romania, next to the Black Sea, where a lot of people came to inhabit these lands after 1918, when the Romanian Union happened. And talking about Romanians, we cannot talk about them without mentioning Dacia or Dacia, our territory before Romania was called. And going further south on Via Transylvanica, we will discover the importance of medicinal herbs that we still do today, and discover the former capital of the Romanians and of the Dacians, and one of the most intriguing churches that we still have today and is still in service. So the last part of Via Transylvanica goes through also an area that was mainly the cultural center of the Dacians and reaches all the way to the Danube. It was a very important area, a lot of natural resources and tiny mountains, but very well forested, which made a very good area to hide or defend against enemies, and also create raids to get resources from. And on our way to Via Transylvanica, we can engage in some plant foraging. There is one of the largest plant collection facilities in the country, because this is pretty much still a big part of our culture, everyday culture. And whenever you have a problem, before you go to the doctor, you first want to make sure you can find a natural remedy or a cure. You will ask your mom or your grandma. They will send you to get the tea or to have some cream and so on made from these plants. Now, this factory is more than 90 years old. They produce more than 400 teas and medicinal plants. They have more than 200 acres around and all around these mountain areas that we've seen. So Via Transylvanica crosses straight through them. So it's a very nice opportunity to go foraging, to discover new plants, and even to get fresh tea. This is how they look now. You can find them in all supermarkets. Of course, you can find these as well all over in villagers' homes. They always collect them during the summer, and they keep them for the winter whenever the cold is coming. It's a great drink to fight the cold with. Initially, when COVID came in, I remember a lot of people, this was the recipe: tea and lemon and ginger and so on. But I think we're facing something different right now. They are producing more than 20 million teas annually. So it's a really big plant, but they still engage a lot of locals into this. And a lot of the foraging is done in traditional ways. You can see chamomile, you can get lavender, chicory. The yarrow plant is also very popular in Romania. I'm not sure if it's really spread out around the world. And a different type of activity that you can do in this area, as contrasting with that big factory that we've just seen, is 𝗁𝗁 plant, which comes from a monastery, comes from here, 𝗁𝗁 monastery, secluded in the mountains, somewhere on a hill on these mountains, where some ladies living there started foraging these plants, and in order to get some money to raise funds for renovating their monastery, they started producing handcrafted creams, shampoos, all kinds of cosmetics that are natural. They don't have any chemicals in them, and they're really good for the environment as well. So we really like to pay them a visit whenever possible. With the help of an NGO, there's also a website where people can order straight for the monastery, so the nuns can get full profits and they won't have to pass so many logistical chains, which we love. Now, moving from a spiritual center to another, we'll pass by 𝗁𝗃𝗃 This was the cultural, economical, and religious center of the Dacians before the wars with the Roman Empire. Erected on the high mountain. This had actually 6 citadels, but this was the main one, and it was the core of a strategic defensive system in the Carpathians for the Dacians. I have a video over here, a 3D simulation on which I want to talk. Let's see if we can get it. Yes. This is just 1 minute. This is just how to get you a better idea. To zoom in to the middle of the forest. You've seen there's nothing around, no villages, no cities, no towns, no valleys. It was well hidden into the mountains. This is where the Dacian kings were staying, and they had walls surrounding all the area. The access was usually only through one gate, the military access, and the back access was usually for the civilians. Now, the other way around, I'm sorry, it was the civilians and the military, because once you go deeper past those walls, you get into the very core and spiritual center of 𝗁𝗃𝗃𝗃. This paved road could only be accessed actually by highly ranked officers in the army or priests, which had actually more privileges than the generals in the army. And you could find all kinds of different temples, from religious ones, pagan worshiping temples. They got inspiration from the Greeks as well as from the Romans in building these temples. So you might recognize the shape and the pillars, but some of them are very unique, such as the round ones, because they still believed a lot in the celestial system, in the moon, the sun, were epicenters and were considered gods in their beliefs. So all around in here were huge temples where only the highly ranked priests could have access. Now, it's funny, this temple that we can see now, we can see remains of all these ones even today. And in 1980s or late 1970s, if I'm not mistaken, just over here, the largest temple, it was probably dedicated to their god of war. Our beloved ruler 𝗁𝗃𝗍𝗁 during communism decided to pay a visit because they wanted to restore these temples. How would you restore these temples, even if they're 2,000 years old? In communism, with concrete, of course. So they poured concrete in a lot of them, actually doing more damage than they were found in. And you couldn't have a head of a state, such an important head of state like 𝗁𝗃𝗁 come by car or like a strenuous hike to get all the way up there. So instead, he decided to come back by the helicopter. And because there was no helipad over, they had to pour concrete right in the middle of the temple to kind of level up the mountain. So Nicolae Ceausescu would pay a visit to see how the constructions is going on. Fortunately, nowadays, there are efforts to kind of repair those mistakes, to keep everything more in line with nature and what was happening over there. But once you visit it, you'll see the differences. This is just a short video of how it looks today. And I'm not going to stay more on this because we covered this capital before. Two things I wanted to mention. One, I already talked about, the temple that was turned into a helipad for Ceausescu. You can still see the concrete on the right corner over there. And Murus Dacikus, this is a picture of how they would build walls. They wouldn't have walls just out of stone. They would use the natural resources, the natural level terrain, and have earth in between. It was actually a lot sturdier, and it was earthquake proof. So a very good way of defending themselves. Just a few images of a Dacian warrior and a Dacian bracelet. These golden bracelets are really, really valuable. They were only found deep under these temples, and they were considered a spiritual way of protecting the citadel in front of the attacks. Now, so this is a picture of 𝗁𝗃𝗍𝗁 Traiana, which after the Roman conquest was another capital that the Romans built in their own style and architecture, because they actually set the old one on fire and destroyed most of it. Now, this is around 40 kilometers or 25 miles away from the original one, and it's not in the mountains because the Romans wanted roads, they wanted plain ground for agriculture, they didn't need to defend themselves against anyone, they had legions in here. And funny thing is that archaeologists discovered this first, because of course it was in plain sight, in the 1900s, very early, and it wasn't until 1930s that 𝗁𝗃𝗍𝗁 was discovered after the troops mobilizations of World War I. And just a quick comparison of around 30 seconds of how the Ulpia Traiana from Emperor Trajan was looking like. Big road right in the middle, and very, very different, as you can imagine, from the Dacian one, with very specific buildings and their very own Colosseum. This was the capital of Roma Dacia. It was quite an important area and a economical center. Unfortunately, there's not many ruins left, as you can see from the previous picture, because villagers and people around that were raiding the areas used all these for constructing their own houses and so on. In the Colosseum, it's really interesting. They were having fights, and they even have their own smoke machine to create special effects and to entertain the people that were coming in. There's a drain, because those battles were quite bloody, so this whole area was just a drain for the blood and the mess that would happen over there. This is how it looks today. Not a lot of remains left. However, if you visit it, you can clearly see the settlement, how it used to look like. And one of the most intriguing churches that we have in Romania is the ancient temple of Zalmoxis. this is what it was 2,000 years ago. This was the Dacian deity, their main god. However, it was destroyed by the invading Romans, and they built a stone temple dedicated to Mars, god of war, which of course later evolved into a church. You can still see a tombstone of a Roman high-ranking officer over here, and you can still see the difference in construction from big limestone stone parts taken from the capital, the Roman capital that we've just seen, patched up with all kinds of other materials like river stones and bricks. Later on in medieval times, it was turned into a pagan temple after the Roman retreat. You can see the pillars that are acting as buttresses, old pillars from the Roman capital. And then on top, you can see bricks. Those are dating from medieval times, big, large stones as well. You can really see this building was built over the course of many, many centuries. It was only converted into a Christian church somewhere between 7th and 13th century, and during medieval times was painted with beautiful frescoes showing Jesus in traditional Romanian clothes. Some paintings were destroyed by the invading Eastern armies or later by reformists or Protestants, but it's just a very beautiful, intriguing church that doesn't resemble anything else that you can see, be it in Romania, in the surroundings, or anywhere else in the world. Now, the altar, as you can see from here, is also kind of patched up. It still points south, as in Dacian pagan temples, and even though Christian ones face east, but it's the oldest church still in use nowadays. Mass and sermons are still held here today as part of everyday life. There's a beautiful cemetery. It's just peaceful and quiet to visit, so it makes for an excellent stop on one of the Via Transylvanica trails. And I wouldn't leave you, I wouldn't want to finish the tour without telling you about a quick and short success story. It's called Bison Hillock. It's actually a story of bisons being reintroduced in Romania, because Romania is one of the few places in Europe where this type of bison, Bisus bonasus, still lives. And these amazing species were dominating the forests in medieval Europe, but nowadays they're almost extinct, as there are only around 5,000 bisons in the world. And with the help of WWF, this project reintroduced bisons in the wild through the partnership with other NGOs as well. And they're now being tracked and monitored to check their progress within their natural habitat. There are over 60 bisons as of now in the protected area. And they started from like 4 bisons that were found in the wild, with new calves born every year. You can see the younger ones here to the left. And with every birth in the wild, there's actually, I think there's a brick that these people and hopefully we can put for conservation purposes, because they're really vulnerable in nowadays environments. And they are considered a key species that kind of sculpts the ecosystem around them. What I like about this is not just you visit them because they're in the wild. The villagers came up and said, okay, we want to help out. Let's offer touristic services to people that cross the trail. And we want to provide accommodation. We want to provide traditional cooking classes. You can engage in baking Romanian pies, making cornbread, or guided picnic in nature. In this way, actually, the locals find a sustainable alternative to logging or subsistence agriculture, and they can increase their living standard while also keeping their traditions alive. Here I have a few pictures of the accommodation. They're really welcoming, homemade made bread. Of course, some shots of palinka if you feel like it after a long day walking. And I really want to, we really want to help out with all these programs. If you have any ideas, or if you, any tips and tricks for sustainable tourism, we really want to be part of it. So thank you for joining. This is how your trip will conclude, in one of these beautiful locations where the locals are welcoming, and you'll be well fed, and you will quench your thirst as well. So I think now we might be ready for the Q&A. And I cannot hear anyone right now, but I think there's a security option over here that I need to uncheck. Yes, now you can unmute yourselves and we can go over any other questions you might have. Let's see.
So we will go over the Q&A session right now before we will connect with Andrea. So if you have any question about the tour, about what we've discussed so far, do let us know. Please unmute yourself. You can also show us your videos because we like to know who we're talking to. We also, it's always great to connect. All right, so
maybe you can hear something on the other side. Sure what.
Thank you, Judith. So if there are no questions related to the tour, and if you guys are ready to just hear Andrea sing and to show us your best dance moves, because we wanted to do something interactive for a virtual tour, obviously, and it's hard, but hearing live music and also trying some dance, because Andrea will also try to dance at the same time, but because it's live singing, don't expect anything too crazy. But you are more than welcome to join her and to join us. Maybe me and Vlad will bring out our best moves too.
I was gonna say, hello, Georgiana, hello, Vlad, hello, everybody. It's awesome to be here. Yeah, you guys can do like the moves and I can sing. You did a great job the last event we had. It was awesome. And it was funny that you did close with the palinka, because I've prepped myself a little palinka right here in my little cup. And if anybody wants to cheer with me before we start, if you have a glass of wine or a beer or whatever you have, I'm going to teach you the word, how to say it. And you're going to say noroc. That's how you say cheers in Romania. So noroc to you.
Noroc.
Noroc.
Noroc, noroc. This was to give me a little bit of a boost before I go on. It is awesome to see you. And I'm not sure how to change the screen. I still have the Q&A in its pinned
Yeah, you
on.
are now a co-host of our meeting, so you're happy to share your screen. I will stop sharing mine.
Oh, I don't need to share. It's not, no, you just, I guess just for everybody to make it big, just to make it big and for them to see, like spotlight it. That way it's easier for everybody to see everything.
That's it.
There
You're
you
on
go.
spotlight.
There we go, spotlight. Super. I see a lot of people. I'm happy that you guys are here. I see some of my friends that are here, and I want to thank them for their support. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Georgiana, Vlad, as always, wonderful presentation. You've touched a lot of the bases on Transylvania. I am from Transylvania, right in the middle, right in the heart. The wolves were in my backyard howling while I was a kid. Dracula was roaming around somewhere around there. Not sure. I've never actually seen him, but I was told that he's been sneaking in the backwoods over there. And I want to ask you guys if you are ready to dance, because I'm going to sing for you. I have a few songs prepped from Transylvania. There are different regions. The music is different in different regions of Romania. You have Moldova, Oltenia, Transylvania, you have Banat, Ardeal, it's Transylvania pretty much. So each region has their own specific type of music. Today, I'm going to present you the Ardeal, which is in Transylvania, and I really hope you will enjoy it. All right, let's do a little sound check. Make sure you hear me. Check, check. 1, 2, 3. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Great. I do encourage you to stand up and move. And let's see how we can make this night even better than it already is. All right? I'm gonna try and tell you a little bit of the songs. The first song that I have, here we go. The first song actually talks about how much it matters to be a human towards the other people, not so much as concerning on the material side. It matters to be a human to everybody. You can hear that, right? All right.
Omul cu suflet curat, 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗍𝗄 supărat, omul cu inimă bună, nu știi cât amar adună. Omul cu suflet curat, 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗍𝗄 supărat, omul cu inimă bună, nu știi cât amar adună. Luptă mare-i omenia, ai de preț ca bucuria. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia să o păstrezi, măi. Luptă mare-i omenia, ai de preț ca bogăția. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia să o păstrezi, măi. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. To the right steps, to the left steps. 1, 2, 1, 2. Come and try it. It's really easy. Hop, 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 hop. Good. Omule, să nu faci rău, că te vede Dumnezeu. Cine în viață greșește, până la urmă tot plătește. Omule, să nu faci rău, că te vede Dumnezeu. Cine în viață greșește, până la urmă tot plătește. Lucru mare-i omenia, mai de preț ca bogăția. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia ți-o păstrezi, măi. Lucru mare-i omenia, mai de preț ca bogăția. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia ți-o păstrezi, măi. Hop, 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 haida, haida, bine, Gina! If you need an extra glass of wine to give you some energy, go right ahead. I'm sure your bottle's not empty yet, Christian. Omenia n-are preț, omul n-are două vieți. Cine-i om cu suflet mare, rămâne om până moare. Omenia n-are preț, omul n-are două vieți. Cine-i om cu suflet mare, rămâne om până moare. Lucru mare-i omenia, mai de preț ca bogăția. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia să-o păstrezi, măi. Lucru mare-i omenia, mai de preț ca bogăția. În viață câștigi sau pierzi, omenia să-o păstrezi, măi. All right, that was a good start. I saw you over there, some of you getting up and warming up. Good, good, good. Now, I have a question for you all. Who does not like love? Anybody here doesn't like love? I doubt it. If you say no, you're gonna be in trouble with me first and not with your partner. But the next song talks right about that. Who does not like love? And the answer is everybody likes love. Without love, we don't really have much, do we? I think that's one of the beautiful, beautiful things with us, that we do have love. So let's see how that song goes as soon as I can find it. There it is. 𝗨𝗨𝗨𝗨𝗨 păi coșunii copilării. Din copilăria mea, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi din copilăria mea, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, am știut ce-i dragostea, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la-ri-la, păi am știut ce-i dragostea, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la, nici acum nu ne urâtă, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi nici acum nu ne urâtă, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, nu mă vremea ni trecută, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi nu mă vremea ni trecută, hop, 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 hop. Măioane ca Beerton, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi măioane ca Beerton, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, spunea să rămâne acos, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi spunea să rămâne acos, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la. Nu mi-am fost să-mi trăit bine, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi nu mi-am fost să-mi trăit bine, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, cu mândruța lângă mine, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi cu mândruța lângă mine. Măioane prostule, hai, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, măioane puiule, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, nu-ți mai pierde nopțile, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi pe la toate porțile, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la, că porțile sunt cuiete, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi că porțile sunt cuiete, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, și mândruțele sculcate, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi și mândruțele sculcate. Numai la mândruța mea, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi numai la mândruța mea, hei, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, haide la vaca o stea, hai, la-ri-la-ri-la, păi că știe că merg la ea, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la, haide la vaca o stea, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la, păi că știe că merg la ea, hai, la-i-la-i-la-i-la. All right. I am getting warmer and warmer and warmer. I hope you too, and you're having a good time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the night with us and Romanian Thrills for their beautiful, beautiful presentation. And we are gonna move on to the next song. And I'm not letting go of the rhythm, just so you know. If you think there's something more mellow coming, forget it. We're here to have a good time tonight, okay? We're not gonna be sitting down. And let's talk about other women, how they can interfere with the love of our God. Hop, hop, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Țișocorițele, m-ar mânca dacă putem, m-ar mânca, ne-ar zice așa și a mea, măi. El cu cine vin anume, că trăiesc și eu pe lume. Cu ce râs de vin eu, mă, că s-o fie așa și a mea, mă. Șoconițele din sat, mai pune pe foc să armă-i, să ard și să mă fac strum, să nu le mai stau în drum, măi. Șoconițele din sat, mai pune pe foc să armă-i, să ard și să mă fac strum, să nu le mai stau în drum, măi. Eu ciudă le fac la căten, că ele le pun la spate. Dacă te zmoră pe jâr, că cu voie băi și măi. Păi eu ciudă le fac la căten, că ele le pun la spate. Hop! Când oi fac 50 de ani, rău mai te voi da de bai, măi. Orice care bai așa, iadele nu m-oi lăsa, măi. Când oi fac 50 de ani, rău mai te voi da de bai, măi. Orice care bai așa, iadele nu m-oi lăsa, măi. Trece lumea, treci eu, ce-am făcut nu-mi pare rău, măi. Trece lumea, dragă-mi face, ce-am făcut nu pot desface. Ce vreți șocorițelor, e v-ați dat niciunilor, măi. Nu v-am făcut niciun rău, martor este Dumnezeu, măi. Hop! Well, I want to hear something from you all. I want you to tell me if you're having a good time.
Woohoo!
Good.
Da, da.
Good. Da. That means yes. So that's good. We are going to close with a very, very rhythmic song. And I hope you'll enjoy it. It's a combination between traditional and modern. So let's see if you guys can dance to this one. Somebody's knocking at my door. Oops, wrong song. 1 second. Yeah, that was the one that I had before. All right, let's see. I got everything over here set in just 1 second. Here we go. All right. You ready? You ready? Dă-mă mamă după Yuri. Ai. It's a marriage song. Let's go. Îți fac patin fâncosit, că e vreme de iubit. Mergem cu tot neamul tău, te spune de vedeu. Dacă nu vii tu acasă, vine Yuri, nu te lasă. Dacă nu vii tu în șură, vine Yuri și te fură. La mama, după Yuri, da după Yuri, da după Yuri. Că mă așteaptă în podușurii, în podușurii, în podușurii. Să-l iubim pe sărat, când miroase a uscat, când miroase a uscat. Și dacă tu nu mă-i da, o veni și mă fura, o veni și mă fura. Să-l iubim pe sărat, când miroase a uscat, când miroase a uscat. Și dacă tu nu mă-i da, o veni și mă fura, o veni și mă fura. Hai la Yuri, sus în șură, când stau haine de velură. Am căruță cu 2 boi și ne ducem pe amândoi. Dar să spui lui maică ta că tu ești femeia mea și Și de nu vii tu acasă, vine Giuri, nu te lasă. Dacă nu vii tu, înșură scot cuțitul din centură. Lai, 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 la la lai, lai, la la lai, lai, la 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 lai, 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 la la lai, lai, la 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 lai, lai, la 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 lai, lai. Mama, după Giuri, da după Giuri, da după Giuri, că mă așteaptă în pădușurii, să-i iubim pe sărac, când miroase a uscat, miroase a uscat. Și dacă tu nu mai da, o veni și mă fura, o veni și mă fura. Să-i iubim pe sărac, când miroase a uscat, miroase a uscat. Și dacă tu nu mai da, o veni și mă fura, o veni și mă fura. Hey! Thank you very, very much.
Bravo! Thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry, okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. The music was amazing. And thank you so much for your great energy. If you would be so kind, we've had some questions about the music, the songs that you sang. Some people want to hear them again, and we promise to share them afterwards. And we're happy to hear that. We always want to share our culture, and especially these types of songs, because what Andrea has done tonight is actually really, she has a tougher job, because Transylvania is not necessarily known for its rhythmic and very upbeat music. Sometimes it can be a little bit more mellow, but she has found songs that really stand out, and she is doing a great job at it. So thank you so much for tonight.
My pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. It was awesome to be here. Wow, what a night, what a night. I hope I gave you some of the energy that I had, and I hope you could feel the music and sense it. It is different. I know you don't understand the words. I see Woody over there applauding. Thank you. I hope.
Yeah, Woody is actually. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
No. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, Woody is actually very much in love with Romania too, and I was hoping to see him dance tonight. But maybe another time, of course. And
yes, it's a little bit easier when you get that palinka, I promise you.
It's true. It's true. Andrea knows what she's doing with
it's called liquid courage.
Liquid courage, exactly.
Liquid courage. And I'm telling you.
So Andrea, we had a question for you, because we were debating where is your Romanian blouse, what region is it from? We were inclining to go towards Moorish, but maybe you can shed a line over it.
Yes, I can. I don't know if I think I should talk like this. You can probably hear me better. The blouse is actually from Ardeal, and it was from my hometown. My mom came here a few years ago with a bunch of blouses. I told her, look, just go in the village, see who has forgotten their costumes somewhere in the sheds or in the attics or in the basements. See what you can get, bring it over. I'm tiny, I can fit in whatever you bring me. I'm sure I'm not gonna have a problem. And this is one of the things that she found in my hometown, Rodna, handmade, probably about 70 to 80 years old. It was a wedding Romanian blouse for someone. I don't remember who, but she wore it to her wedding, and it's handmade by that person for her wedding. So I cherish all the costumes that I have, and I tend to wear old costumes in my shows and in my presentations, just because they have a history that they bring with, versus something new. Not that new it's bad, but it just makes me feel comfortable.
We can hear your daughters. For you guys that were thinking who knocks on Andrea's door, she has 3 little daughters. So, so thank you so much for tonight. We will keep in touch. We will share on our follow-up email Andrea's contacts if you want to see what she's doing, her activity, and keep up with her. She actually lives in the United States. This was us. Thank you for joining our virtual tour. We will see you soon in May for another virtual tour. free virtual tour, obviously. That one will be in the Danube Delta. And, today we talked about Via Transylvanica. It finished where the Danube enters Romania and the southern border, and then we'll continue its story from there. We'd like to thank very much Woody and Elizabeth. They are our two patrons, and we really, really appreciate their support. And not just to them, to everyone that's been watching our virtual tours ever since the beginning. As we've mentioned at first, we have created a small community, and we couldn't be more happy for this. That's why we continue doing what we do. And if you too want to continue supporting our work, if you appreciate our tours, if you appreciate the kind of information, because we always try to bring quality to these tours and real information, real stuff that you can use. And we want to put Romania over there on the travel map when it comes back in full force. So if you appreciate what we do, there are several ways that you can support us through donations. Or if not, just your words, that's how we draw our energy. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any other questions, you can always let us know. We will have a follow-up email to this tour with the resources, the video resources that we used, with the Andrea's songs, and maybe a quiz, because this is the first time we are not sharing the quiz on our tours, because we had Andrea singing. But we do have another poll to finish off. What is your favorite land in Transylvania? Some of you might think this is an unfair question.
Yes, indeed. So it's kind of a trick question because of that last answer over there. But in all honesty, we really wish everyone that is following us to have the chance to really experience the authentic and the sustainable part of Romania, and contributing to this type of tourism that we are in as well in our country. Mm-hmm. And again, if you are willing to support us on Patreon, which starts at even $5 a month, we will send you postcards from Romania signed from here. And we are looking right now for partnerships with NGOs and with local artisans that we wish to support this summer, because this summer will also be a little bit difficult for them. And we will donate some of the proceeds as well. So we'll come back with a plan for that. Really, everyone that is supporting us, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. This is a different tour. We've done it on a Thursday, but we were happy to see that people still joined anyway. Our next tour will be on a weekend, but do let us know on our follow-up email if you want to reply. What days do you prefer? Do you prefer weekdays or weekends? We're happy to comply.
Yeah. We'll make it work. And thanks again. If you do have any other questions, please address them. You can put them in the chat, send us an email. There's many ways to get in touch with us. And we'll see you soon.